Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. We are in the Johnson edition. We turn now to poem 784, Bereaved of All, I Went Abroad. Now, this one was published in 1896 and it was titled Trying to Forget. Hey guys, this is another poem about loss. It's another poem about Emily grappling with coming to terms with bereavement. And we're going to pay attention to the use of that word, bereavement. The assumption for us is that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily's our playlist. I'm hoping that you worked through our set of introductory comments as well as the preceding 783 poems. We just finished with 783. The birds began at 4 o'clock. Now, some have read this bereavement that Emily is talking about as related to her, can we call it blindness? She was having some eye difficulties, and she was worried that it's possible that she maybe was going to lose her eyesight, a la Milton, as we've commented in earlier lectures. By the way, you'll remember bereaved from 348. It's the only other time that she uses this word. We're also going to pay attention to the fact that 3 times in this poem she references the grave. So we'll pay attention to the fact that this is a poem that's trying to come to terms with the idea of death. This is what she has to say. Bereaved of all, I went abroad, no less bereaved was I upon a new peninsula. The grave preceded me, obtained my lodgings ere myself, and when I sought my bed, the grave it was reposed upon the pillow for my head. I waked to find it first awake. I rose, it followed me. I tried to drop it in the crowd, to lose it in the sea, in cups of artificial drowse, to steep its shape away. The grave was finished, but the spade remained in memory. Now, this idea of I can't escape something that is locked in my memory. I'm trying to escape it, but I can't escape it. She clearly lost somebody she was close to, or she is talking about the loss of her sight. Again, guys, I'll let you decide how you want to read this poem. Notice we'll begin, though, with bereaved of all. In other words, there's nothing good happening in her life at all. I went abroad. Now, this going abroad, some have referenced as her trip, for example, to Boston, where she had some eye work done. Others are seeing this as metaphoric, much like Keats's much have I traveled in the realms of gold, for example. In other words, I tried to put out of my mind the loss of somebody deeply close to me. I went abroad. No less bereaved was I. It didn't work. In other words, it was a failure. Trying to get it out of my mind by using dislocation, going somewhere else, didn't work. Upon a new peninsula, in other words, going someplace new, she says, the grave preceded me. By the way, notice the metonymy for death as being the grave, and 3 times she'll reference it that way, right? The substitution, the metonymy. Obtained my lodgings ere myself. In other words, I went to this new peninsula, I checked into the hotel, whatever, and when I sought my bed, the grave it was reposed upon, the pillow for my head. In other words, I thought I could escape. The problem is that what I'm trying to escape is in my memory, and everywhere I go, there I am. I can't escape my memory. She says, I waked to find it first awake. In other words, I thought maybe, and any of us that have had a challenge where we're trying to forget something that's bugging us, and we go, I'll sleep, and in the morning when I wake up, it won't be there anymore. But then when we wake up, the first thought that we have is about this new thing. We go, oh, I didn't get away from it, because of course the memory is still in my mind. She says, I wake to find it first awake. I rose, it followed me. So notice this memory of her pal, who she apparently lost, or the possibility of her sight. It followed me. And then notice the novel use of this phrasing that comes next. I tried to drop it in the crowd, to lose it in the sea. Can we just point out? Notice you would lose it in a crowd and drop it in the sea. But she, in verses, much like Shelley plays games like this to a skylark, right? She says, I tried to drop it in the crowd, to lose it in the sea. In other words, I tried to be around people. Maybe that would help me. Maybe if I'm hanging out with lots of other people, then I'm not worrying about it. In cups of artificial drowse. Now, some have said that this is a sedative. She's talking about maybe like using some kind of dope to try and help her to get through the experience, to steep its shape away. In other words, if I could just maybe get stoned. We think, of course, about Emily's love of Homer's Odyssey. And you'll remember in the Odyssey, there's that moment when they come to that island called that land of the lotus eaters, where they get stoned and then they don't have to think about going back home. Of course, Odysseus points out to them, this is not really helpful. Being stoned, she says, doesn't work, because sooner or later the dope wears off, and then guess what? I'm still there trying to remember my pal, and the like. She says, the grave was finished. It is interesting she uses this phrase because, of course, readers of her time would immediately jump to the New Testament, the King James Bible she loves so much, in John 19:30, attributed to Christ as his final comment on the cross, it is finished. The grave was finished, she says, but the spade, that is to say the shovel, that is to say the sound of the dirt being dug, remained in memory. And of course, this idea that you can't so easily escape the grieving process, I think, is the message at 2A. Grieving can be overwhelming. At 2B, well, we have a number of things rhetorically we can focus on. Notice all the alliteration here. Went, was, peninsula preceded pillow, first, find, first, followed, see, steep, spade. Consider the assonance of the poem. Bereaved preceded me, or waked, awake, or shape, away, grave, spade, remained. And then finally the consonants of this text. Bereaved, abroad, new, peninsula, reposed upon and pillow, tried, drop, crowd, and loose, drowse. Emily's obviously in the middle of her pain and her grieving. She is, of course, still trying to work through the feeling. Now, of course, at 3A, we can reference all kinds of poems of Emily's that are bereavement poems. You'll remember this one from 348. I dreaded that first Robin so, but he is mastered now. I'm some accustomed to him grown. He hurts a little, though. I thought if I could only live till that first shout got by. Not all pianos in the woods had power to mangle me. I dared not meet the daffodils, nor fear their yellow gown would pierce me with a fashion so foreign to my own. I wished the grass would hurry. So when 'twas time to see, he'd be too tall. The tallest one could stretch to look at me. I could not bear the bees should come. I wished they'd stay away in those dim countries where they go. What word had they for me? They're here, though. Not a creature failed. No blossom stayed away in gentle deference to me, the queen of Calvary. And again, that when we met this poem, 348, that Queen of Calvary, I think is significant, especially by virtue of the fact that she uses the word finished. And again, the words attributed to Christ on the cross, it is finished. Each one salutes me as he goes, and I, my childish plumes, left in bereaved acknowledgement of their unthinking drums. Finally, to own a poem like this at 3B, what was a time in your life when you were bereaved, when you were grieving, and you had to hold on, even if you didn't want to hold on? Thank you.